When the president guts all of the early warning systems and the weathering forecast abilities of the government, these are the results that we're going to start to see on a daily basis.
The incident comes as the Trump administration is making deep cuts to weather forecasting services.
We're also learning that there were significant staffing shortfalls at the National Weather Service's offices in the region.
I don't think it's helpful to have missing key personnel from the National Weather Service not in place to help prevent these tragedies.
With the White House correcting the record.
The National Weather Service provided early and consistent warnings. They gave out timely flash flood alerts. There were record-breaking lead times in the lead up to this catastrophe. There is ongoing flood monitoring, and these offices were well staffed. In fact, one of the offices was actually overstaffed.
So just take it from me, politicizing weather events is not good, and it shouldn't happen. But this happened, Jesse, and great to have you back, around 4 a.m. when everyone was asleep, the river was rising, there was a torrential downpour, so the conditions were absolutely horrendous.
Yeah, Dana, we're praying for the families and hope they do find some survivors. There's a school of thought in the left that says the more people you have, the better results you get. I don't know about that, because imagine this show was called The 10, and they blew up the table, and everybody talked. You'd never have time for Animals Are Great, and they'd have to pay these people twice as much.
They call that CNN.
They call the boxes?
Yes.
Exactly. Or look at I think they call it the golden age of Hollywood. Jessica, pay attention to this one. Back in the day, they had one studio head, okay? And he was the risk taker, made all the decisions, and he had an army of writers, producers, and directors. So he'd approve a script, they'd get it up, and all of a sudden, box office hit. Today, there's, I don't know, an army of executives. They have so many people making decisions that no decision ever gets done, so they just have to reboot old hits. Like, that's why you have Jurassic Park 17. Stephanopoulos should lose his job. This guy's already cost Disney $20 million. He's making about $20 million, and he's got to go because he says that they're understaffed. Now, with the resources that ABC has, they could make one phone call and find out they had plenty of people. But Politico, with a fraction of the staff, gets the right answer. So this guy's going to get iced out for the next 4 years. No one's going to touch him, and he's just dead man walking. These people have emotional problems and bad religion. Let me give you an example, Jessica, and it's good to be back around the table. This climate change thing is a religion to these people because they believe that weather is punishing us for being a rich and successful and prosperous nation. And all they need to do to appease the rain gods is to have everybody use their sacred things like solar panels and stupid cars and windmills. And that's what's going to save lives. All right. And then you have people that blame everything on Donald Trump. So if they get fired, if they stub their toe, if there's a virus, it's his fault. And so you're walking around and dealing with people that are like suspicious pagans. All right. Everything they see as a conspiracy. They're superstitious, but we're not in this anymore. We used to have to battle these people. We are in an age of common sense.
Jessica, I will go to you next. You don't have to. You can choose to comment on whatever you want, but it is good to have Jesse back around the table. Yeah. I do think it's a little wild. And when it comes to certain news stories, it's let's wait, let's get all the facts, let's see. But if it's a blame Trump, that's like all systems go.
Well, you could actually do that for any
Republicans
story,
too,
so, yeah.
writ large. Take it from me.
Listen, this is one of the more devastating stories that I think we've had to cover as a mother of two daughters that are going to go to camp at some point. I cannot even imagine what that feels like. I've been reading the testimonials, especially about the fathers and grandfathers that are walking around that camp looking for a thermos with their kid's name on it or some sign that they were there. Maybe they find the body of another camper, maybe they find their own child or grandchild. Unimaginable. I'm so sorry for them, and I'm sorry for any hurt that any comments about this tragedy has caused these families. I don't think that talking about preparedness or what might have helped qualifies as impugning the memory of those that have been lost or detracting from the thoughtful conversation that needs to take place, because this river has been flooding for a very long time. There are a number of instances in this, and we were here around the table when Hurricane Helene struck, and I did not hear Jesse Waters, who I'm thrilled is back around the table, saying that Donald Trump should stop spreading lies about the Biden administration and the FEMA funds. Trump came out and he said, they're giving your FEMA dollars to illegals. They're housing them with your FEMA dollars. Then he said, you're only going to get $750 from FEMA, which was a complete lie. And there are Republican officials who have testified to the fact that people did not get their FEMA assistance because of what Trump and other Republicans were saying. You also don't need to trust or go to Democrats to politicize it. You can look at this GOP state rep, Wes Burdell, who said that he would have voted differently on a bill that was before the House last year. I think it was House Bill number 13, that was going to add more money for disaster response and better alert systems, radio towers, et cetera. There are over $54 billion in identified needs in terms of disaster resistance when it comes to these kinds of flash floods that state officials are asking for, and the GOP legislature has rejected them. That is something that they can work on to move forward and hopefully avoid a tragedy like this again.
And well, Kellyanne, I think one thing that we always are constantly reminded of, especially with Hurricane Helene, is that state and local governments are the ones that are on the front lines of defense, and the federal government can help, but they're not necessarily the ones to blame.
That's right. They're on the first level of defense, but they're also the ones who tend to issue the warnings and then go out to rescue and recover. I mean, the left is very culpable in this one, Jessica, respectfully. They have this playbook now. Number one, blame Trump. Number two, lie in the service of blaming Trump, refer to number one. And number three, give us your thoughts, never even your prayers. Why aren't they out there helping with rescue and recovery? Why aren't they looking for the thermoses? Why aren't they crediting and lifting up this hero who saved the lives of 168? Why isn't he a household name? Trump, 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 and everything. And it turns out all of it's just a lie. Dana Bash, George Stephanopoulos, Al Sharpton, and other Democrats in the media and other Democrats everywhere. Lying, climate change. People are talking about climate change from the comfy cockpits of their fossil fuel guzzling private aircraft, telling the rest of us what just went wrong, who's to blame, while people are still looking for loved ones. We didn't have this when I was growing up. Everybody got together. I think the modern Democratic Party, it's hysteria over compassion. It is Trump derangement syndrome, definitely, and it's confrontation over collaboration. And they let that go here. Last point, Trump's the one. He got in late September, early October, he went down to North Carolina after that tragedy. He and Melania went out to the fires right after he was sworn in. He goes where the crisis and the pain exist. Mm-hmm. And he tries to go when they won't be in the way of rescue and recovery. He goes to share people's pain and try to add some compassion, some federal resources. The Democratic Party is so hollowed out in their anger and their misery and their bitterness towards one man who's on a 2-week hot streak that they can't even express enough compassion to the loss of life, which includes, kids our own ages.
Yeah. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most